What would happen if people decided that you were the Messiah and everything you did only convinced them more? And what if you couldn't convince them otherwise, even if you converted to a completely different religion? That is sort of what happened to Sabbatai Zevi, or Sabbatai Zevi, the Jewish Messiah. Do you want to watch all videos early and ad-free? Do you want a personalized cameo? Then join my new Patreon starting at just $1 a month. Watch all my videos before they come out completely ad-free and help me afford an iPad so I can finally stop drawing with my mouse. Before Zvi was born, and we're just gonna call him Zvi because pronunciation is hard, the Jewish people were expecting a Messiah who would rebuild the temple for a third time. They had been expecting that for a while now because although some attempts had been made, nobody had succeeded, and hoping for the temple to be rebuilt is kinda what the Jews are all about, especially in times of crises. And the 1600s were definitely a time of crisis for the Jews. They had experienced a lot of violence, expulsion, and even massacres. So the idea of a return to an Israel with that rebuilt temple looked more attractive than ever. So they were looking for a Messiah to join. To them, the term Messiah simply meant the one chosen by God to rebuild the temple. And how can you identify a Messiah? Well, by looking for the guy who's successfully convincing everyone that he's going to rebuild the temple, of course. That's the world that Zvi was born into, apparently on the day of national mourning for the destruction of both temples. As a young man, Zvi was an excellent student, but he wasn't that interested in normal and boring rabbinic study. Instead, he really liked studying Kabbalah, the mystic interpretations of their Bible. He had strange and long periods of ecstasy when he felt uniquely connected with God, followed by long periods of sadness when he wondered why God had abandoned him. This is why a lot of people believe he was bipolar, but it's obviously impossible to know for sure. However, when he was in a spiritual high, he mixed his insane energy and his deep knowledge of mystic Bible interpretations to captivate people around him. When Zvi was 22, he married his first wife, whom he immediately divorced, saying that he refused to have sex with him, which was illegal at the time. But he had a pretty good reason to reject her. Look, I thought that I could do it, but when I saw you naked, I just realized that I just couldn't. I discovered something about myself, something really deep that I've been denying all these years. I can't reject this anymore. It's as clear as if God were screaming it to me right in my ears.
Oh, are you really coming out? Are you
The
gay?
Messiah, yes.
Wait, the Messiah?
Yep, and God also told me that you're not hot enough to be my wife. After his quickly failed marriage, his periods of ecstasy and depression only got worse. And when Isaiah saw that, oh my God, did you just see that?
What happened?
I just levitated when I was reading this just now. Did you not see it?
What?
What?
No, you weren't levitating. I was looking straight at you.
Really? Nobody saw it. Well, that can only mean one thing. You have not been fully purified by me to behold miracles, and that is your fault! That's when he started kicking things up a notch in local synagogues. And that is why not boiling a goat in its mother's milk is an abomination that... Excuse me? Can I help you, young man? Yahweh. Wait a second, you can't say the name out loud. That's not kosher. We only say it once a year, and only by the... Yahweh. Come on, everyone. I'm doing what's forbidden just like the Messiah would. Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Excuse me, young man, but I think you need to... I said everyone. But this didn't work out. He had some people here and there supporting him, but he was kicked out of his city, Smyrna, around 1653 for his shenanigans. However, the shenanigans did not stop, because soon he would announce his next wedding. This time, to a scroll. And I promise to forever love you and respect you. In sickness and in health.
Wait, is that a scroll of the Torah?
It's symbolical or something. And then he was bravely arrested and tortured for buying a dead fish, dressing it as a baby, and placing it in a cradle. Do you get it? It means that the redemption of our people will occur under the sign of Pisces.
But I don't understand. Why is the fish a baby?
I don't know. I went a bit to modern art on this one. Right around that time is when he would meet his third wife. Sarah had been orphaned in one of their massacres against the Jews and had actually been raised Christian in a convent. But When she learned about her Jewish heritage, she did what I wish I could do. She escaped and moved to Amsterdam working as a sex worker, all while insisting that she was destined to become the bride of the Messiah.
Can you believe this woman saying that she's gonna marry the Messiah?
Wait, what? I'm the Messiah. What?
Oh, believe me, you wouldn't want to marry this lady. Even you wouldn't want to marry someone who has sex for money.
Like the prophet Hosea had to do? That's it. Messengers, bring me this Sarah. She was promised to marry me.
Wait, promised? When?
In a dream.
Sarah was apparently very pretty and kinda crazy, so that's probably why she went through with the wedding. At this point, Zvi had a very modest following who actually believed what he was saying. But everything was about to explode when he went back to Gaza and met the man who would transform him into legend. Nathan Levi of Gaza. His name is probably pronounced more like Nathan, but I'll stick with Nathan. Nathan was just 22 years old, but he was already known as a miracle worker and a scholar, and Zvi was in one of his depressive moods, so he went to Nathan for help. Look, man, I need help. I'm sick, you see. I don't like saying this out loud, but I get these crazy moments when I think I'm super special and chosen by God, and then I do all of these crazy things to try and convince people, but deep down I know the truth. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I can't keep believing that I am the Messiah.
Wait, the Messiah?
Yes, but I know it's not true.
Who's that lady?
Oh yeah, that's my wife. She might seem familiar because she used to be a consort.
Like the prophet Hosea had to do.
Yeah, exactly like Hosea.
And you said you were born on the anniversary of the destruction of both temples?
There's no way to prove otherwise.
Then Zvi, you're not ill. You are the Messiah.
Wait, how can you be so sure?
Well, first of all, because I did maths with your name. And second, because I had a vision yesterday after not eating for several days where God revealed that I would meet the Messiah. And I would be the chosen one to tell everyone the news.
I already tried becoming the Messiah, though nothing seems to work. I keep telling people to do the opposite of the Torah, but that's how they kicked me out of Smyrna.
Look, you are the Messiah. All you need is for people to know that. The plan? Using this new print shop invention to tell everyone about a doctrine based on opposite days, saying you, the Messiah, can do the opposite of the law. That is why you married your wife anyway. Fast days? How about feast days instead? Morning days? How about party days? Women? We'll even pretend they're smart now. You don't have to mourn the destruction of the temples. You're celebrating that you're building a new one. Plus, look at this ancient manuscript that some dude named Abraham wrote in the 12th century that I totally found the other day and I didn't just write just now.
I, Abraham, was in a cave, and after spending 40 years there, I heard a voice that said, I am God, and my son will be born in the year 5386, and his name is gonna be Shbat Zvi. Wait, that's my name!
Yes, the year is just funny because that's how they wrote years back then. Plus, you know what year is next year?
The year 1666.
Exactly! The year 1 and the funny number. This is not a coincidence. Pack your bags, Zvi.
Where are we going?
To heal the world.
Zvi, his wife, and Nathan started touring all around the Ottoman Empire with the brand new doctrine that Nathan was developing. His ideas were based on the mystical interpretation of scripture from Kabbalah. In his new doctrine, the old law was there only because the Israelites were exiled. So Zvi, being the Messiah, had to do the opposite of the law to bring redemption. This explained and recontextualized all of Zvi's actions to make them intellectually and doctrinally coherent. And with the use of the printing press, this new doctrine, which became known as Sabbatianism, was able to travel further than ever. Jews back then were desperate for change, and when they were presented with a reinterpretation of their doctrine to expect change from this Messiah, then everyone wanted to be a part of it. The priests who had kicked Zvi out started following him. People started printing prayer books with Zvi's face next to King David, with prayers proclaiming Zvi as the Messiah. People were selling their homes, closing their shops, and even removing the roof of their houses, preparing to be raptured to Jerusalem. And the ones who were the most excited about this movement were women. Zvi had become a proto-feminist, although for all the wrong reasons. Women who previously were under a fully patriarchal structure were invited to join Jewish opposite day, doing everything that the men used to do, like public speaking and worshiping duties. Now, Zvi wasn't doing this because he believed in gender equality. He was preaching it because, according to the doctrine that Nathan was doing, everything had to be fully reversed and corrupted for the arrival of the Jewish vindication. But the result was explosive. People were converting to Sabbatianism left and right, eagerly awaiting for news of the travels and shenanigans of Messiah Zvi. And Zvi was heading back to the home that he had been kicked out of, the city of Smyrna. At the end of the year 1665, when he went back, he was received as a hero. The city was now filled of people who believed in Zvi and his shenanigans, and Zvi did not disappoint.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell everyone that I just divorced my wife to remarry her, and then, when I consummated the marriage, I realized that she had regained her virginity because I am the Messiah. That means that you're gonna be a king, and also you're gonna be a king. Everyone here is going to be a king because, as we all know, based on the doctrine of Nathan's books, I will go to Constantinople. I will kick out the Sultan, and I, the Messiah, will become the new Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
This was surprising to many of them who weren't caught up with all of the updated lore, but nobody was more surprised than the actual Sultan in Constantinople. In Smyrna, people might have received Zvi as a hero, but nobody in Constantinople wanted to be associated with a guy who's saying he's gonna commit treason against the Sultan. They knew people get killed for far less. So when news about this reached Constantinople, his supporters left the city and wrote to Zvi telling him not to go. The jig was up. The Sultan had caught wind of Zvi and he was not pleased. But Zvi was fully committed and he marched on to Constantinople. Now, the Sultan knew Zvi was a rebel with many dangerous and faithful followers. But he also knew that if he killed Zvi like the Romans killed Jesus when they were in his place, then Zvi would only become a martyr. He'd heard about Christianity before. So instead, right before he arrived at the city, he sent soldiers to arrest him. And they didn't put Zvi in a dungeon. He was basically under house arrest, although in a palace controlled by the Sultan, with an assistant and a personal chef, where he could even receive visitors, including the Sultan himself. This immediately had bad repercussions for Zvi's movement. His followers knew how to honor a martyr, and they knew how to follow a messiah, but they didn't know what they were supposed to do when their leader says he's gonna become the Sultan and rebuild the temple while he's having an all-inclusive vacation in the Sultan's property. By then, Zvi was fully into his spiritual high, even signing his correspondence as God, not even the Messiah, just God. But after a while, the Sultan came up with the perfect plan to completely squash the movement.
Sultan, so nice to finally be able to speak to you in person. I'm God, but you can simply call me the Messiah.
See, I want to believe that, I do. But I'm a Muslim and I think all men should follow the Quran. However, I'm a smart man. I don't want to oppose the true Messiah if there is one. So, are you sure you are the Messiah?
That's what I've been telling you. I am the Messiah. I can't help being the one God chose. I guess God just thought that I was very special or something.
Okay, and as I told you, I want to believe you. And I think I just figured out how. That's why I brought my archers today. Look, I'll tell them all to shoot you. If you are the Messiah, well, then I'll see God stopping the arrows to protect the chosen one, and I will convert to your movement. You can have my throne.
Okay, but what if the arrows don't stop?
Well, I guess at least we'll all know the truth.
Is there something else we could do instead?
Look, our Messiah is finally here. He's coming to us in the year 1666 as prophesied.
Wait, why is he wearing a fez? Marhaba, my brothers. May Allah be with all of us. I just saw the light and said the Shahada.
Wait, what?
What?
Wait, is Messiah Shbat Zvi a Muslim now?
The name is actually Aziz Mehmed Effendi now, Habibi.
Wait, you're a Muslim now?
I'm not just any Muslim. I'm a Muslim with a royal salary.
Oh, come on.
What?
Is that your wife, Sarah?
Oh, you mean Fatima?
Most of his movement was very disappointed and started to disperse, but not everyone did.
Okay, so our problem is that our Messiah just left our religion and converted to a different religion. The plan we tell everyone that converting to Islam is the ultimate transgression of the Torah, which proves that Zvi is in his last step of being the Messiah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like, it's still opposite day for him. And what's the opposite of being a Jew? Being a Muslim, of course. Plus, we believe there's something good in all religions, right? So what if he's just collecting all of that?
Collecting all the good that's in the other religions?
Exactly, that way, all the other religions will be nothing but bad, and our religion will be nothing but good. It's simple mathematicians.
But what does that mean for us?
That means that we need to convert to Islam to also be Jewish in secret like he did.
This was the jump the shark moment for most of his followers, but not for everyone. 300 families of his closest followers converted to Islam to practice it in public while still behaving like practicing Jews in private, forming their own community called the Donme, which has to be super annoying. One religion is already hard enough to be fully followed by one person. Imagine having to follow both Islamic and Jewish restriction at the same time. After his conversion, Zvi lived a somewhat strange life. He moved to a Jewish town, celebrating Jewish customs, and even got a Jewish wife after Fatima died because apparently he just loved being married. When he died at just 50 years old, his movement should have died once and for all, with people finally realizing that Zvi was definitely not building the temple.
Not if I have something to say about this. Sure, he died without even getting close to becoming the Messiah or rebuilding the temple. But that's a problem we can easily solve. The plan? Tell everyone that there's no better way to play opposite day than being death, because that's the opposite of being alive. So by doing that, Zvi was now actually fully confirmed to be the Messiah.
Now this didn't convince everyone, but it did convince many of their followers, especially the ones of the Donme, who weren't about to admit that they had converted to Islam for nothing. This group went further into hiding, forbidding all members to speak about their cult to any outsiders. These people were still observing Islam in public while observing Jewish customs in private. They had separate cemeteries, and they even dug tunnels connecting their homes so they could pray together in hidden rooms. By the end of the 1800s, they had about 100,000 members. And although they were trying their best, some of their secrets started spilling out, creating rumors of a small sect of secretly Jewish people hiding inside the Islam faith. So you might not be surprised to learn that some believers in the Donme still exist. In 2015, historian Senji Zisman published his findings. He taught himself the almost dead languages that were used by the Donme, and then went to the only place he knew for sure had Donme members: their cemeteries. Now, all of the members there were unable to share their experiences, but he waited for their descendants to come to the cemetery to pay their respects, and then offered his services as a completely free translator, willing to translate anything their families might have of their ancestors to trace back their history. By this time, many of the descendants of members of the Donme didn't even know that the only reason why they were Muslims was that their great-grandfather had converted to Islam as a secret Jew. After 20 years of research, he realized that there were still active Donme, pretending to be Muslim while secretly practicing Jewish customs. You think that's surprising? You don't think someone should expect their Messiah to come back after they've been dead for hundreds of years? Seriously, the only difference between the Donme and Christianism was that Christianism did the dead Messiah thing far more successfully based on conversion rather than pretending to be a Muslim. If Nathan's plan had been just a little bit different, we might have a new religion around waiting for a Messiah to come back to life. This is an insane story that I wouldn't have even found if it wasn't for this comment suggesting the topic. And once I found out that Zvi had converted to being a Muslim, I knew that I just had to... Wait a second. Why is their name verified? He's a YouTuber? And he's significantly more successful than me? I should have asked for a collab instead.